Sometimes I wonder if everything would have been different if I'd never trusted them. My parents' voices still echo clearly in my mind, full of warmth and hope, proudly telling everyone who would listen about my bright future. I vividly remember my 8th birthday, surrounded by balloons and laughter, when my father lifted me onto his shoulders, announcing loudly, "Kimmy's going to have a brilliant life. Her college fund is all set, and she'll never have to worry about a thing." Those words were my security blanket, wrapping around my childhood dreams, ensuring me that I could confidently chase whatever path my heart desired. But today, standing in the cool, sterile silence of the bank, reality ripped away every comforting layer I had clung to. "I'm sorry, Ms. Blake," the bank manager said softly, eyes brimming with uncomfortable sympathy. "There's nothing left. The account was emptied almost 2 years ago." A cold dread swept through me, my heartbeat thudding painfully against my ribs. "Emptied? That's impossible," I whispered, gripping the desk to steady myself. She slid a piece of paper across to me. "Withdrawn by your parents," she confirmed gently. Betrayal gripped my heart, squeezing until tears blurred my vision. How could they do this? The floor felt uneven beneath my feet as I stumbled out of the bank, my mind racing with disbelief and denial, each memory now twisted cruelly into something painful rather than reassuring. Driven by confusion and anger, I stormed into my parents' house. My mother was seated at the kitchen table, calmly sipping coffee as though she hadn't just torn my world apart. My father stood by the window, staring out absently. "How could you?" My voice trembled with hurt and accusation. "You took everything from my savings." "Why?" They exchanged a glance, not a hint of remorse visible. My mother's voice was steady, almost dismissive. "Eva needed it more, Kimberly. She's struggling." "Struggling?" I echoed, barely recognizing my own voice. "Eva just bought a house. I was counting on that money." "Yes," my father interjected coldly, his gaze finally shifting to meet mine. "Eva bought her home because we helped her. She's had difficulties you wouldn't understand. You've always been the spoiled one. It's time you learned to stand on your own." His words struck like physical blows, robbing me of breath. Spoiled? All my life I'd carefully followed their rules, worked tirelessly to make them proud, yet somehow it was never enough. The unfairness of it burned sharply in my chest, my body shaking from hurt and confusion. "But you said it was mine, for my future," I whispered, my voice barely audible. My mother sighed, setting down her cup, irritation flashing in her eyes. "Eva deserved it more. Honestly, Kimberly, it's always been so easy for you. Can't you handle one setback without throwing a tantrum?" I stood frozen, the sting of her words reopening every old wound I'd buried beneath smiles and assurances. A wave of nausea rose in my throat. My childhood trust shattered completely, the warmth replaced by a harsh, unforgiving chill. The parents I thought I knew, who I believed protected me, had just made it clear how disposable I truly was. "You lied to me," I said, my voice strengthening with a raw edge of determination. "All these years you let me believe I mattered to you just as much as Eva." My father turned away dismissively, returning his gaze to the garden outside. "Grow up, Kimberly. This is real life. Not everything revolves around you." Their casual cruelty pierced deep, embedding itself in my heart. But amid the pain, something else began to simmer. A defiant fire, sparked by the harsh truth they'd forced upon me. I wouldn't be their doormat anymore. As I turned to leave, tears blurred my vision again. But they were different this time, fueled by anger, betrayal, and the first seeds of a plan forming in the quiet chaos of my mind. They believed they'd silenced me, kept me neatly in line. They didn't know how wrong they were. Stepping outside, I sucked in a shaky breath, determined and unbroken. I knew what I had to do. My parents had rewritten my past without permission, but I would take control of the future. They'd learn the consequences of betraying someone they never imagined would fight back. That night, sleep eluded me as memories flooded back. revealing patterns of favoritism I'd long ignored. I recalled countless birthdays where Eva received extravagant gifts, while mine were forgotten entirely, brushed aside with casual apologies. My academic achievements, met with indifferent nods, paled next to their praise for Eva's minor accomplishments. Every family conversation subtly revolved around Eva's needs, her mistakes rationalized away, while my own were magnified as proof of selfishness. Desperate for support, I decided to confront Eva, hopeful she might acknowledge my pain. I found her lounging casually on her patio, sipping wine, surrounded by friends whose laughter stilled as I approached. "Eva, we need to talk." I began carefully, fighting to keep my voice steady. She raised an eyebrow, smirking dismissively. "About what now? Our parents used my savings for your house," I stated plainly, waiting for any sign of remorse. Eva laughed loudly, mocking amusement clear in her eyes. "You're spoiled and selfish, Kim. Stop whining. Honestly, it wasn't even your money. It was just sitting there, wasted on you." Her friends exchanged uncomfortable glances, but Eva didn't care. My cheeks flushed hotly, humiliation mixing with anger. Retreating, I paused as I overheard Ava's gleeful voice behind me. "Can you believe she thinks she deserves that money? Like she's ever had to struggle for anything." Each cruel word sliced deeper into my fragile heart. Anger ignited fully within me, burning away the last traces of hesitation. Ava thought she'd won, but the battle had just begun. In the days that followed, a hollow ache settled deep within me. My parents had always assumed I was strong enough to handle anything alone, their neglect disguised as confidence in my independence. But now, faced with their undeniable favoritism, I felt utterly invisible. At a family gathering, I quietly drifted from one conversation to another, always on the fringes. My mother's laughter echoed sharply as she described Eva's new house to distant relatives. My father's proud voice boomed as he spoke of Eva's so-called achievements, conveniently overlooking her numerous mistakes. Feeling suffocated, I stepped onto the porch for fresh air, only to find Uncle Richard leaning against the railing, watching me with kind eyes. Richard had always been gentle, observant, and thoughtful, the one family member who genuinely seemed to notice me. "Hey, Kim," he said softly, concern evident in his tone. "You doing okay?" My throat tightened, emotion flooding to the surface. Unable to hold back, I admitted everything: the betrayal, Eva's mockery, and my parents' cruel indifference. Richard listened silently, his eyes growing darker with understanding and sympathy. "I'm so sorry, Kimberly," he finally said, voice thick with sincerity. "I've watched them treat you unfairly for years, and I should have said something sooner." I shook my head, wiping tears from my cheeks. "It's not your fault, Uncle Richard." He sighed heavily, staring into the distance. "Family loyalty should never come at the expense of your own self-worth, Kim. Remember that." Richard's words resonated deeply, planting a powerful realization within me. All my life, I desperately sought my parents' approval, believing loyalty to family was unconditional. But in that moment, clarity struck fiercely. I owed nothing to those who consistently treated me like an afterthought. With renewed strength, I met Richard's eyes, determination hardening my voice. "You're right, they've made their choice, and now I'll make mine." A gentle smile tugged at Richard's lips, pride clear in his eyes. "Whatever you choose to do, Kimberly, know that you aren't alone." His unwavering support was the lifeline I desperately needed, igniting my courage. It was time my family faced the consequences of their actions. I spent days carefully gathering evidence, determined not to leave any loose ends. Each step forward felt simultaneously empowering and devastating. The cruel necessity of exposing the very people who had raised me, creating a constant ache in my chest. But the more I uncovered, the more I realized how deeply their betrayal ran. In a quiet office downtown, I sat across from a lawyer, my fingers nervously twisting in my lap. "Your parents didn't just withdraw the funds," she explained gently, her eyes kind yet serious. "They committed bank fraud. Kimberly, your signature was forged. They falsified investment documents. This is a serious crime. My heart pounded painfully. Hearing those words aloud, the gravity of my parents' actions truly settled over me. The betrayal had gone beyond emotional wounds. It was criminal. I swallowed hard, steadying my voice. What happens next? She slid a file towards me. We build a case. But once you move forward, Kimberly, there's no turning back. I nodded slowly, resolute. They didn't leave me a choice. After leaving the lawyer's office, the weight of my decision pressed heavily on my shoulders. I needed reassurance, someone to lean on. Uncle Richard had always been my anchor, and instinctively, I went to him again. We met at a quiet cafe, where his gentle presence calmed my restless heart. Uncle Richard. I began softly, sipping the warm tea that barely soothed my nerves. Did you know about this? About them taking my money? He sighed deeply, regret evident in his eyes. I didn't know how far they'd gone. I confronted them once about their favoritism toward Eva, but instead of listening, they shut me out completely. I've regretted not pushing harder ever since. His admission stung, but also confirmed I wasn't overreacting. My pain was valid. Richard reached out, placing a comforting hand over mine. You're brave, Kim. You don't owe them your silence. His support emboldened me, reinforcing my resolve. Quietly, I began planning a dinner, a family gathering under the guise of reconciliation. My parents eagerly accepted, likely assuming I had come crawling back, ready to apologize. Ava agreed smugly, believing she'd already won. The evening of the dinner arrived, tension coiling tightly inside me. The house felt foreign now, each wall echoing memories tainted by betrayal. Ava lounged confidently, sipping her wine, recounting her grand plans for renovating her new home. My parents watched her proudly, their smiles wide and untroubled. My hands trembled slightly as I prepared to speak, rehearsing silently the devastating truth I was about to reveal. Just as I summoned the courage to interrupt, I overheard my mother's voice drifting clearly from the next room, speaking proudly to a guest. Yes, we've generously helped Eva with Kim's funds. Eva deserved it far more, considering how much she's overcome. Kimberly will manage. She always does. Her words pierced deeply, reigniting the fresh wound of betrayal. Taking a steadying breath, I stepped deliberately into the dining room, feeling everyone's eyes shift to me. Actually, I began calmly, voice strong despite my racing heart. There's something you all should know. Kimberly, this isn't the time. My father began sternly, irritation flashing in his eyes. Ignoring him, I continued unwaveringly. I filed fraud charges against you both. A stunned silence fell across the room, heavy and thick. My parents' faces paled, disbelief quickly replaced by outrage and panic. Ava's confident demeanor shattered instantly, her eyes widening in sudden fear. How could you do something so cruel, Kimberly? My mother gasped, genuine shock and anger lacing her voice. Cruel, I echoed coldly, meeting her gaze directly. You took my future and gave it away. You forged my signature, lied, and used my life savings without a second thought. Ava's composure broke completely, her voice shaking with anger and fear. You're destroying our family, I replied calmly, unwaveringly certain. You did that yourselves. You taught me exactly how to prioritize family. You just weren't part of mine. The room erupted into chaos, accusations and denials flying furiously. But for the first time, I felt entirely calm, grounded by the truth. Their words no longer had power over me. They'd assumed I'd quietly endure their betrayal, but I'd chosen differently. As the shouting continued, I stepped outside, breathing deeply, free from guilt or doubt. The truth was finally out, and there was no going back. The days following my dramatic revelation at the family dinner felt surreal. Reality set in rapidly, as legal actions unfolded with merciless precision. My parents, once proud and untouchable, faced the harsh glare of public accountability. Newspaper headlines exposed their betrayal, each word another dagger twisting into our family name. Ava, initially defiant, was quickly consumed by panic and anger as she faced losing everything. Her prized home, funded by my stolen future, was no longer secure. As she struggled, her messages to me became desperate and accusing, shifting swiftly between pleas for forgiveness and furious blame. Kimberly, you're ruining my life. Do you understand that? Eva screamed over the phone one night, her voice ragged with panic. Everything is falling apart because of you. I'm not the one who tore this family apart. I answered calmly, despite the guilt gnawing at my heart. You chose to take what wasn't yours. You all made choices, and now you have to face them. Her furious cries became sobs, filled with self-pity and fear. But I refused to yield. I had allowed guilt and misplaced loyalty to trap me for far too long. I had broken free, and I wasn't going back. Yet, in quieter moments, guilt still haunted me. I questioned myself late at night, sleepless and weary. Was I cruel for holding them accountable? Was the destruction of our family my responsibility? The emotional turmoil felt endless, my mind battling between justified anger and lingering longing for family acceptance. In those dark hours, it was Richard who anchored me, his presence offering the clarity I desperately needed. Sitting together on his porch one evening, Richard patiently listened as I poured out my conflicted heart. They were my parents, Richard, I whispered, tears spilling freely. Part of me still loves them, even after everything they've done. Is that wrong? Richard's gaze softened with understanding. Love isn't wrong, Kim. It's natural. But loyalty isn't owed where it isn't returned. They chose Eva repeatedly, at your expense. They left you no other choice. You deserved better. His words resonated deeply, quieting the storm of doubt raging within me. The validation he offered was a balm on my wounds, a powerful reminder that my worth wasn't defined by their acceptance. My guilt eased slightly, replaced by the steady certainty of knowing I had done the right thing, no matter how painful. Meanwhile, the consequences of my parents' betrayal unfolded mercilessly. Their finances crumbled under legal scrutiny, forcing them to sell their home and assets. Public humiliation was relentless, as friends and neighbors learned the truth they'd tried so hard to conceal. Ava, unwillingly thrust from her pedestal, sold her home, her illusions of superiority shattered by the harsh reality she had long ignored. Despite everything, I maintained my distance, refusing to be drawn into their manipulations again. Eva's messages grew increasingly desperate and emotional, veering between self-righteous anger and tearful apologies. Each message tested my resolve, but Richard's reassurance held firm within me. Remember, Kim, Richard reminded me gently, they've brought this upon themselves. You deserve peace, free from their emotional blackmail. Slowly, I began reclaiming my life, financially independent and emotionally stronger than ever before. Each step forward felt lighter, a growing realization blossoming within me. The family I had yearned for wasn't bound by blood, but built upon genuine love, trust, and respect. One evening, Eva called again, desperation coloring every word. Kimberly, please, I'm your sister. Help me. For a moment, old habits surged, urging compassion. But quickly, I remembered the betrayal, the arrogance, and the disregard. Eva, I can't, I replied calmly, confidently. Not anymore. Her silence spoke volumes as I ended the call, finally free from the chains of guilt. The family dynamics had completely shifted. Now they were the ones experiencing accountability. It was poetic justice, undeniable proof that actions held consequences, no matter how long delayed. Standing on Richard's porch, breathing the fresh night air, I embraced the clarity that had come from pain. The hardest battles had brought the deepest growth, and finally, I could move forward without looking back. In the months that followed, I thrived professionally and personally in ways I had only dreamed of before. Freed from the shadow of my family's betrayal, my life finally felt like my own. Each day brought newfound confidence and opportunities, free from the weight of expectations and manipulation. Richard remained my steadfast supporter, cheering me on through every success and guiding me gently through every obstacle. I purchased my first home, a cozy bungalow near the outskirts of town, a symbol of my independence and strength. Standing proudly on my front porch, keys clutched tightly in my hand, I felt a deep sense of satisfaction. It was more than just a house. It represented every struggle I had overcome, every painful lesson learned, and every ounce of resilience I had found within myself. Professionally, I advanced quickly, earning recognition at work that validated years of unnoticed efforts. Colleagues valued my insights, respected my contributions, and acknowledged my potential in ways my family never had. Each accomplishment reinforced the truth I had fought so hard to embrace. My worth wasn't measured by others' opinions, but by my own integrity and determination. Still, moments of reflection occasionally caught me off guard. One afternoon, driving home from work, I spotted a help wanted sign displayed in the window of a local diner. Instinctively, Eva came to mind, and I briefly imagined sending her a picture, wondering if she had truly hit rock bottom yet. The thought passed quickly, replaced instead by a quiet, peaceful acceptance. I chose not to reach out, not from spite or bitterness, but from understanding. Our paths had diverged irreparably, and I no longer felt responsible for her choices or their consequences. Letting go, I drove past the diner, a faint smile playing across my lips. It was a small victory, but significant nonetheless. Despite everything, Eva occasionally sent desperate emotional messages begging for financial help or forgiveness. Each message tugged briefly at old, buried emotions, but I remained firm. I had learned that forgiveness didn't mean sacrificing boundaries, nor did compassion mean opening myself up to further harm. With each firm but gentle refusal, I reclaimed a piece of myself once surrendered to misplaced loyalty. As time passed, the space left by my family's absence gradually filled with genuine connections and authentic friendships. Colleagues became close friends, neighbors turned into companions, and Richard's quiet, steady presence anchored my newfound community. These relationships showed me what true family could look like, built on mutual respect, trust, and kindness. On a sunny weekend morning, Richard and I sat together on my porch, sipping coffee and enjoying comfortable silence. Eventually, he turned to me, his gaze filled with warmth and pride. "Kim, you've come so far. Watching you take back your life has been incredible. I hope you see how strong you truly are." Tears filled my eyes, but this time they were tears of gratitude rather than sorrow. "I couldn't have done it without you, Richard. You were always there when I needed someone most." He smiled gently, patting my hand. "I may have been here, but you're the one who made it happen. You chose strength over bitterness, self-respect over guilt. You built a life worth celebrating." His words resonated deeply, reinforcing everything I had learned and embraced. I had finally understood the profound truth that genuine family wasn't about blood. It was about the people who chose to love and support you, even at your weakest moments. In that clarity, I found peace. The toxic ties that had once held me captive were severed completely, replaced by a network of love, trust, and respect. With a heart unburdened by guilt, I finally knew what true freedom felt like. I stood, stretching comfortably in the sunlight, breathing deeply, savoring the calm and quiet contentment of my new beginning. The past had shaped me, but it no longer defined me. I was ready to step confidently into whatever future lay ahead, knowing I had earned every moment of joy and every ounce of peace.